What up, what up, what up, what up? It's me, Teddy27.
What's good tonight? Right about the hood.
Oh, dear God, I'm already eating a drink. Look, a damn mess. Just a damn mess. No means no, and yes means no.
What up, what up, what up? What's good, people? What is up? It is me, Teddy27, and I am back for another review. This, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be our review for Queen Sugar. It is season 5. It is episode 7. It is entitled June 1st, 2020. So, I feel like this was a filler episode. It still had a lot going on, but I still feel like it was a filler episode. Because once again, I only had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pages of notes, which is unheard of. But we'll get down to it. We start off with Ralph Angel and Darla. They're at home. She's planting her garden, and he's complaining about how he can't wait for her to be done with all of the vegetables so he can get him a good home-cooked, homemade salad from her vegetables garden or whatnot. And it was real cute or whatever. Anyway, they got Blue's IQ scores back, and they find out that Blue is indeed gifted and talented and well advanced in pretty much all subject areas, which is good because so many times and so often that we see that happens. I want to see where they go with this, and I want to see how Darla and Blue move forward with this and help to cultivate his gift and make it flourish. So I really want to see the direction that production and the writing team and so forth go with this, because I'm really excited about Blue being a young and talented and gifted child myself. I love this storyline. It really intrigues me. We then see Charlie. She's at home and she's asleep, but she's having these dreams or nightmares or whatever you want to call them, where she begins to recollect on, all of the stressful and bad and, just not so good times she's had over the last couple years or so. And I didn't know where they were going, but we then see, if you recall last episode, I talked about each character having these moments where they would weep and emote. And this episode, we have moments where characters would have these moments where they would have flashbacks and they would recollect on things that had happened to them with others, good, bad, and all that in between. And so we see that over and over and over throughout this episode. And that is one of the overarching themes in this episode, where people get the opportunity to reflect on their experiences and what they've been through over the last year or months or years, plural. So then we see Vi and Hollywood. They're at home. Listen, Hollywood is changing. And I'm not going to say is changing, has changed. Grief will do that to you. And then when you compound grief with dealing with the pandemic and dealing with everything that is going on, it's not good for him. And he's drinking early in the morning. And he looks like he's drinking more often than he used to. And to a certain degree, what you see too is, to add insult to injury, June was around a time that people who had been quarantining with each other kind of got over that period, that honeymoon period with it, and we're at the point where they were getting on each other's nerves, and they were at the point where they just wanted to get out of the house, get away from these people before they choke the life out of that person. And I think a little bit of that is kicking in as well. We see Nova, and I don't ever remember dude's name, the dude with all of the piercings or whatever from in New Orleans. Well, they're getting some shirts and stuff together for this children's march that Nova is planning and so forth. And they discuss briefly Trump and his cult-like following in the Church of Trump that has morphed in these yet to be United States of America. Anyway, so they talk about that, and she talks about wanting to make sure that this children's march goes through without a hitch. We then see Charlie. She's at home, and the stress is getting to her, and everything that she's responsible for, and all of her duties and responsibilities are, beginning to burden her down. So much so she's starting to get a crook in her neck and her having neck pains. And Micah gives her a massage and so forth. It helps her ease her pain. And then he said, "Listen, I want to do more than what I'm doing, And she was like, you have a big social media following, and just you giving good counsel and advice to people in social media is good. He was like, that's not enough. And he was like, I want to take the people with me, and I want to make a difference. So he talks about going to Minneapolis, to where George Floyd was killed. He says, I'm not asking your permission, but I am asking for your support. And she gives him her blessing. I'm sure she was apprehensive about that, but did it nonetheless because she probably knew he was going to go anyway. So then, after that, we see Charlie talking on the phone with Nova. Micah done already left Liz, and Micah said, listen, I'm out of here. He done already left and so forth. And Nova is talking to Charlie, and Nova is telling Charlie, listen, it's okay. You got to let Micah be Micah. And, I love when she added the point where right now Micah is the son of Davis West and Charlie Bordelon. But at some point, you're going to be the mother of the great Micah West. I love that part. But also, Nova tells Charlie about this children's march and how after the children's march, her and White Boy Cop are going to drive Courtney back to Texas to go back to school or something like that. Anyway, and then she's going to fly back into New Orleans because she wants to, find out how TSA and the airlines and the airports are handling black passengers during the pandemic with all of the extra rules. Charlie, of course, is concerned for Nova, and Nova's like, listen, I'm good. I'm all right. I'll be all right. And then they go back into the conversation about Micah and Nova being fearful about Micah going and so afraid for him. But Charlie being afraid for Micah. And Nova had to remind Charlie, listen, the greats that we revere and we talk so much about from the civil rights era, they were not old. They were young. They were in their 20s and teens. And these pioneers and these greats, they weren't old people. They were young, and they were out there fighting and doing the business of changing America at a young age. And so that was important that I was so glad that she said that, because I've said that all the time. We cannot ignore the young generation, the young people, because a lot of times they are the agents and conduits by which change happens. Hey, anyway, Blue, Ralph Angel, and Darla are at home making posters for the Children's March, and they discuss George Floyd, and they discuss the part about George Floyd calling out to his mother, and they have the conversation with Blue about that. And then Blue goes and gets some ice cream. Oh, excuse me, y'all. I'm sorry. Goes to get some ice cream from the refrigerator. And while he's doing that, Ralph Angel and Darla discuss how, listen, we got to make this world better for Blue. And Ralph Angel's like, I promise you that's what I'm going to do. But in my mind, I'm like, that's not a promise that I think you can keep. There's so many things that go into making this world what it is. And you by yourself, Ralph Angel and Darla, aren't going to be able to make the world a better place for Blue. Not by yourselves. Well, that was just my thought. I wrote that down. Then we see Nova and Courtney. They're packing to go on this trip back to Texas, and Nova talks with her and so forth, and she gives her this book called Vision and Justice, and it's a rare edition of the book, and just because she wants her to continue to learn and grow and continue to further being an ally for Black people. And Nova then gets a call, and on that call she finds out that they're saying that she didn't have the proper permits and that she can no longer have the Children's March because either her permits were denied or didn't get in time, or some kind of way she'll have the proper permits, so she can have the march. So the next thing we see is Ralph Angel at home with Darla and Blue, and Ralph Angel is telling Darla and Blue, listen, the march is off, and Blue doesn't understand, and he tells Blue why, and Blue says, this is dumb, I don't understand this, when discussing the rules and laws of St. Joe. And Ralph Angel was like, you know what, you're right, and tomorrow we're still going to go, and the three of us are going to go, and we're going to protest and hold up our signs and still protest. And Darla gives him this look at the end like, you sure you want to do this? Foreshadowing there. Anyway, we did see Vi at home. No, I'm sorry. We did see Vi goes over to Charlie's house to drop off a pie or whatnot. And they have a conversation about Micah and Micah going off to Minneapolis. And Vi was like, you let him go where? Charlie was like, remember, you was the one who told me that I needed to respect it to let him be a man. But you know, you could tell if I don't want no parts of it. If I like, that wasn't a good idea. But Charlie was like, I wouldn't have been able. I'm sure Charlie was like, I wouldn't have been able to stop him if I wanted to. Anyway, Vi then tells Charlie, listen, Hollywood's not doing good. He's not having a good time with the death of his mother and everything that's going on. And she also says Prosper's doing better. He done got out of his funk, but hell, his daughter ain't even call him to check on him. So she was like, we all need to be there for each other. We all need prayer and so forth. And you can see she's gravely concerned about Hollywood. And she tells Vi, listen, I got a lot going on at the house, a lot. Because she talked about wanting to cook little small meals out of her kitchen at home. And Charlie was like, you sure you want to do that? Why would you do that? And her response was, I want to be at home because I know Hollywood needs me and Prosper needs me at home. We then see Nova and Courtney loading the car, to take the road trip to Texas. And I wrote down something must have happened during the taping of this with the actor that plays White Boy Cop, because they made it a point to not have him in any of these scenes, to write him out of all of the scenes. You only see Nova and the daughter Courtney. You don't see White Boy Cop. So I wonder what was going on with him that he couldn't film. I don't know if it was due to COVID or maybe he didn't pass his COVID. I don't know. But something happened where he could not film because they made it a point to write him out of all of these scenes. Anyway, we see Ralph Angel, Blue, and Darla. They're out on their lawn at the edge of their property protesting and so forth. And, people are honking. Eventually, a white cop comes. And he is doing all of this stuff that a white cop you'd think would do. Where's, this is public property. Ralph Angel's like, nah, this ain't public property. And, there's this whole moment, where go show me proof that this is your property. And it was, where's your ID? And Darla goes, you know what? Let me just drive back to the house real fast and go get all of that stuff. While Darla's walking away, he starts to, do little whistles or cat calls at Darla, which, would make any man mad if you're a cop doing that to somebody's wife. And there's this moment where you saw the emasculation of this black man. And white men, from the history of the first white man going to Mother Africa, taking the first slaves and bringing them over to North America or this hemisphere. There's this constant emasculating of the black man. And as much as people talk about the gay agenda is emasculating the black man, no, it's not that. It is this, what we saw here. And I think it was so important for Darla to not be there. I think it was important to be Ralph Angel and Blue, a father with his son, because it's a difference when it's a black male. It's a difference when it's a male. And I feel like, I just remember I had to pause the episode for about a good 20 minutes because it took me all the way out. Like it reminded, I had my own moment where I recollected on all of the times that I had been emasculated by some white cop, and I had gone through all of those injustices of profiling and police brutality of my own. And it broke me down. This scene right here broke me down. The conversation about being a black man in these yet to be United States of America and the emasculation of a black man in front of his own son is sobering. And it was tough to watch and tough for me to recollect all the times I had been through that. I remember watching my grandfather do it and in front of me, and it was tough. It's not a pretty picture. And I just remember all of those times. This was a tough moment for me, and I'm going to quickly move from this moment. But like I said, I think it was important for it to be a moment between the father and the son. And the son to see that father still standing there, still being firm and holding on to his masculinity, but knowing that this white man had come and emasculated him. And he had to do that and suffer through that in front of his son, all the while only allowing himself to go through that because he didn't want his life to be taken away and his son not grow up with his father. And he, for the greater good of his family and his son, said, you know what? I'm going to bite the bullet. I'm going to swallow it down. I'm going to deal with this emasculation and deal with what I got to deal with, because I don't want my son to not have a father. It was a powerful thing, y'all. That whole scene right there took me all the way out. We then saw Nova and Courtney at the rest stop, and they're talking like I told y'all. They did everything they could to write the white boy cop out of the scene. And Courtney expresses to Nova how she knows she's an ally and wants to be a good ally, but how she feels uncomfortable. She feels like she keeps saying things and doing things that's all wrong. And Nova says, listen, I want you to stay uncomfortable, be insatiable, continue to ask questions, but more importantly, continue to listen. Because the more you're uncomfortable and the more you listen and try to grapple with trying to be better and never being satisfied with where you are, that makes you a good ally. And I thought that was so powerful of a statement and conversation that Nova had with Courtney. If you're an ally, not just in the Black community, but to any community, that's good advice. We did see Vi at home. Hollywood is there watching a game with Prosper, and Hollywood and Vi gets into a little bit of an argument, and Prosper quickly gets up and says, yeah, let me check out of here. And Hollywood kind of goes in on Vi, and it's very disrespectful. And I mean, he's unapologetic about it in ways that we have never seen Hollywood be with Vi. And Vi sucks it up, swallows it down, and is a doting wife and says, you know what? I'm going to be long suffering. I'm going to put up with this, and I'm going to deal with it because I know my husband is going through, and I'm going to deal with it. I feel like Vi being of a certain age helped her do that, because I feel like had she been younger, she wouldn't have wanted to put up with or deal with that. So that's just really how I feel about it. But Hollywood was nasty to her, and unapologetic. And the thing about it is, he knew he was being nasty. He admitted so and said, "I ain't got it for you. I'm not gonna try to apologize. I ain't gonna try and make it right." I don't know. Charlie, we did see Charlie on the phone. She's talking to someone. I don't know who she's talking with. But she's talking about how she and Micah had found this loophole in the charter for St. Joe that meant that if there's a federal state of emergency like there is during the pandemic, that no new buildings or new projects can be done within 2 years or whatnot. And she's saying, listen, that means that this highway or this prison that they're trying to build can't happen, and so forth. But anyway, while that's happening, she quickly gets off the phone because she begins to have, I don't know if it's a panic attack or some type of physical episode that she's having, but she is physically ill. I just saw it as an anxiety or a panic attack. I don't know if it's a heart attack or something, but she's clearly going through something physically that's causing her to be ill. She looks at her phone and thinks about who she can call. And she remembers that everybody kind of said, listen, I got a lot going on. I'm busy. Nova's out of town. Vi said, listen, I got a lot going on at home. She tries to call Ralph Angel. It goes straight to voicemail. She doesn't know who to call. And so it kind of, goes to the next scene. But my heart went out to Charlie at that moment, though. I was like, wow, she ain't got nobody to call. Ralph Angel, then we see him calling Hollywood on FaceTime. And he's commiserating and lamenting with Hollywood about this emasculation that he just had to go through in front of his son, and how all of these things that's going on are forcing his son to come out of being just a child to, dealing with adult issues and adult situations. And he's like, they just won't let my son be a child, be a kid anymore. And so many times that happens to Black children. We have traumas that Black families face, that Black children have to witness and grapple with and deal with at an early age. And the problem with that is there are a lot of times you go through these childhood traumas and you're forced out of childhood into adulthood pretty early and pretty quickly. But the problem is, even later on in life, you never get a chance to sit down maybe with a professional and talk these things out and lay it all out on the table and get help with that. We have some real deep-rooted mental health issues within the Go I'm not going to say go unnoticed, but go untreated. Well, that, and so Ralph Angel kind of breaks down in Hollywood. I mean, he breaks all the way down, starts crying, and Hollywood is like, just go ahead, let it out, let it out. Hollywood then is talking to Prosper about the argument that him and Vi had, and Prosper was like, listen, I understand, but you got to understand she has a point too, that you gonna have to make it right. No, I mean, you need a happy wife to have a happy life. And then we see Hollywood goes through this moment where he begins to recollect on all of the good times that he's had with Vi, and the intimate times that he's had. He goes through these flashbacks and he's remembering these moments and things. And then we see Nova comes home and she's by herself. And then she has her moment where she sits and she recollects and has flashbacks about all the many moments that she's had with White Boy Cop. And I'm sure they were supposed to be, reminding her of how much and why she loves him. I don't like this relationship, so I didn't care. And then we see Ralph Angel at home, and Blue is asleep, and he's watching Blue as he sleeps. And then he has his moment to recollect and reflect and have his flashbacks about all of these beautiful moments he had with Blue. And I loved the moments that they showed with Kenya when he had the doll. And I talked about this, I believe, on previous reviews from last season or whatever. But I always liked Ralph Angel allowing Blue to have Kenya, even though it was a female doll, letting him be a child and say, nope, that's his doll, let him have his doll. But in the moment, in the immediacy of everything that's going down and everything that has happened in him and his son's life, he sees this white man superhero doll. He picks up the doll and throws it in the trash like, nah, we ain't doing that. You ain't looking up to no white man. I wonder how that interaction is going to go when he has to tell Blue, yeah, I threw that mess away. I want to see what they do with that. I think that I really want to see what they do with that, because it was at the hand of a white man that this emasculation happened, and Blue had to witness all of this stuff that forced him not to just be an innocent child anymore. And I want to see what the writers do with it. I'm really intrigued by that. Then finally we see Charlie. She's at home, still having this episode and this, I don't know if it's an anxiety attack or panic attack or heart attack or whatever she's having. And then she starts to think, I don't have anybody to call, and go through all of the list of names. She was like, I ain't got nobody to call. And in my mind, I was like, she's going to call Davis. And sure enough, she picks up her phone. She calls someone. You can't see who she calls at first and says, listen, I need your help. I don't feel well. Can you come in? They said they were going to come. And then she puts the phone down, and we see that it is Davis. And it goes off. I wonder what this, and the episode went off from there. I wonder what this is going to be. Davis is coming, but is this going to begin to rekindle something between her and Davis? I wonder. I wonder. Because when people have situations like this, and there's somebody who comes and is there for them, it causes them to rekindle feelings, or sometimes look at the person once again through rose-colored glasses when they shouldn't. I'm definitely curious to see the conversation that Ralph Angel has with Blue about the doll, and I want to see where they take Hollywood's character. I want to see fully what they do with and the places that they take Hollywood's character. Y'all, let's get in the comment section and y'all tell me what y'all saw. Tell me what y'all think. If I got it wrong, if I got it right, anything, this, that, and in between, we can good about what we saw. Until then, that's all I got for y'all. Thank y'all for coming. Y'all drive safely, and we out.